one of the key things for anybody to take away in looking for your niche. I am not telling people to go out there and build a niche of educators. That's not what you should do. You should do is, take those three things, merge them together, and figure out what your sweet spot is.
So the question is this: how do most agents find the secrets to succeed in today's competitive real estate market, especially when the top agents are keeping those secrets to themselves? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Amuchastegui, and I'm interrupting myself to bring you this commercial break from one of our sponsors. And I know you guys would much rather listen to the content and not the ads and not the sponsors, but this is one that I'm actually super, super excited with. So many of the realtors that we interview on the show, they talk about how much systems are important and how much follow-up is important. And I'm really, really excited about our new sponsor. There's somebody I've been looking at for a long time. And when they reached out to me, I said, yes, we have to be able to do this deal. So that sponsor is Follow Up Boss. On an interview last week with agent Mark McGuire, I asked him what his favorite software and what his favorite system was. And he said it was Follow Up Boss. And then he went on for another 3 or 4 minutes to talk about why Follow Up Boss was the best CRM he uses. So there's a lot of superstars out there that use Follow Up Boss. Some of the stats they gave me: Robert Slack, 1.5 billion team in Florida, #1 in the US. He uses Follow Up Boss to get a 400% ROI on his massive paid lead spend. Deborah Beagle, co-owner of the Ashton Group in Nashville, uses Follow Up Boss to guarantee that agents who join her team get 2 homes under contract in the first 90 days. That's a big guarantee for new agents. Barry Jenkins of Your Friends in Real Estate uses Follow Up Boss to automate everything so his team can produce $200 million on 25-hour work weeks. All right, so here's an offer. You guys are going to get this special for being Real Estate Rockstars listeners. Now, I've used Follow Up Boss. We've actually used it in our non-real estate businesses as well because it's so good at being able to set timers, set automatic texting and emailing, and what do you know? Best name ever, Follow Up. So here's what we got. For Real Estate Rockstars listeners, you get a 30-day free trial. That's normally 14 days. So in order to get this, you go followupboss.com/rockstars. So again, followupboss.com, just like it sounds, /rockstars. Go there, get your 30-day free trial, and check it out. Especially if you aren't using any systems or any CRMs yet, this will be a great one for you to start with. All right, everybody, thanks again. Now back to our show.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Real Estate Rockstars with your guest host, Stephanie Brackett. And I am here today with a good friend of mine, the lovely Jessica Hubbard, who is the CEO of Hubbard Realty Group out of Joplin, Missouri.
Yes.
And Jessica, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well.
How's the weather in Joplin?
It's continually raining. But we're supposed to have a good Memorial weekend. So,
that would be awesome. That would be great. No tornado warnings, nothing like that.
Thankfully, no, it's actually been rather light this year. So haven't had to hit the storm shelter too much.
Awesome. You guys lived through the big tornado down there in Joplin, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that Joplin is known for. When I say Joplin, a lot of people say, "Oh, that's where that huge tornado was a couple of years ago," right? Yes.
Yes, that's it. That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your company. How many homes have you guys sold in the last 12 months?
Yeah, so rolling 12, we're looking at about 124 right now.
Okay. What type of profit margin are you guys working off of?
Well, that would be a good question. We just switched from Keller Williams to going independent. So that's a little hard for me to answer because a lot of it we rolled back into creating the brokerage.
Okay.
So
I guess pre-switch, what type of margin were you guys working on?
Probably to like a 30%.
Okay. So a healthy margin. That's awesome. So what percent are you guys is buyers versus listings?
with everything shifting, it's changing a little bit. We were heavily listings. We've always been a little bit heavier at about a 60-40. And then with COVID hitting and stuff, our buyers, we've seen a lot more buyers than we have listings.
Yeah. Are you guys starting to see a shift at all in your market down there?
Yes, we definitely are. Yeah. And even then, it seems like one week it's a good shift. And then the next week, everything's kind of halting. So, the last 2 years have been a continual shift and change and, being ready for what's next and watching and being aware of the, lead measures. I mean, I know we focus on, it's really easy to look at your lag measures, but looking at what little things are changing because you have to change faster than we ever have.
Yeah, that's interesting. What are some of the leading indicators that you've seen that have caused you to make little shifts in your business?
A huge one is the amount of time between buyer offers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So we were seeing a lot of offers, even buyers that we've had, they were putting offers in, one couple times a week, and then it went to once a week. And now we're looking at every other week. And it's almost like a buyer fatigue going on right now. It's maybe a buyer fatigue with a mixture of, interest rates going up and stuff like that. So, that really started slowing down. And over the last month, now we are starting to see that rise just a little bit now. So I don't know if school maybe had a little bit of effect on that, or people starting to realize like, hey, these interest rates aren't going to get better. So I might as well buy now.
Might as well buy now before they get worse.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Because it's still, 5% is fantastic. I bought my first house in 1999 and my interest rate was 8.25%. And I thought that was great.
Yeah. My first house was 5.8 and 8.5. And I thought that was fantastic. So
yeah. And you look back at it and I bought the house for $247,000 and I sold it in 3 years for $339,000 in Las Vegas. And the interest rate was of zero consequence to me. None, zero. Right. I still made $100,000 on the house.
Right. So, completely. Yeah. But when you've heard, 2.5 and 3% the last couple of years, that 5% is kind of hard to stomach sometimes.
It really is. It really is. Okay. So you guys actually have a niche there how long have you been in business?
So Hubbard Realty Group started as a team within a brokerage, and then we recently went independent under the same name. So we have been Hubbard Realty Group as a team for about 6 years.
Okay. And it's a husband-wife team, right?
Yes, it is. Yep.
So you're the CEO, you take care of operations, running the day-to-day, and your husband, Kalen's the one out there pounding the pavement, and he's your main listing agent?
Yes. So he's the main listing agent, and we are expanding into 2 different market areas. So he's also moved into the new role hat of director of expansion as well.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about, before we get into the niche market discussion, tell me a little bit about the area that you live in. Like, what's the population? How big of an area do you cover? How many miles are you driving from one side to the other side? What does that look like?
Yeah. So Joplin has, we're in Southwest Missouri, in case anybody needs to kind of geographically try to place us. So we're about 2 hours south of Springfield and about 2 hours east or south of Kansas City and about 2 hours east of Tulsa. And even though we're one of the largest cities in the area, Joplin proper only has 55,000 people, the city of Joplin. We have some outlying towns. So the greater metro area, if you can call it that, is probably about 220,000 people. With our core service area being approximately 110,000.
Okay. And what's the average home price down there?
Yeah. So right now it's actually much higher, just like everybody else. So, but it's still about $165,000, wow. 170, somewhere in that. When we started 6 years ago, the average home price for our market area was $115,000.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Which is what kind of drove the niche market of we needed we did not have the income to just spend on lead sources. And, we had to do something that we felt was smart and for the long term, and that we could, pound the pavement kind of thing, and make relationships that way that didn't cost a lot of money. So,
right. $115,000, you look at that, you're talking like a ton of work for $3,500 in commission.
100% true. Yes.
A lot of work, just as much work as if it was $1 million house.
Right.
You're getting
right.
3,500, not 30,000.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
Okay. All right. So how did you pick your niche? How did you get into, I know your niche is education, and where did that come from? How did that evolve?
Yeah. So, we, I'm sure you've heard this, but, when you get into real estate, and I had been in real estate on a prior team. I've been in a total of 11 years. And I've heard over and over again, build your sphere list, come in with your sphere, write down, the top 200 people, who's your hairdresser, who's all this, whatnot. Well, one of my, the barrier of entries I had is I am a transplant from Kansas City. So when I moved down here, my sphere was essentially the person I was married to, his sister, and real estate agents. Well, unfortunately, real estate agents didn't really need my help. And
probably not going to refer business to you.
Yeah. So, and then when Kaylin came on board, he had a little bit of the same thing, because he is a transplant as well. He's just been here a little bit longer. And so I started looking at, well, how are we going to make this work? What is our sphere? We don't have the natural sphere that other people have, the kids that they grew up with, the people they went to high school and college, and, their kids' moms and stuff like that. Kids' friends' moms. And so, really, somewhere along the way, I heard the concept of niche marketing. And at the time, I think it might have even been like a Gene Rivers class or something. At the time, it talked about more like, if you live in a certain area, and there's, a golf community, or, a yacht or club, or like, there's a big horse community or something, you could really get involved in that. And, which Joplin doesn't really have. We don't have a lot of that stuff. And so I really started diving deep on, where could I take that concept and what could be our niche? And as I thought about it, Kaylin comes from the world of education. His degree is, it's actually in business, but a master's in education. And he taught for 7 years prior to getting into real estate. His mom and dad are both educators, sister and brother-in-law, 2 aunts, 3 cousins. The world of education is on his heart. It is something that we both believe in very deeply in helping that community, because we believe that in helping that community of educators and taking care of them, it helps take care of the kids and, the economy and everything else, because it's the underlying factor. And so as we thought about who we know, that concept kind of came up, and we thought, okay, well, what could we do with this? Where could, we can write all the educators on a list and like that we know and start calling them and stuff. And about that time, I found this class called Farming Will Make You Millions. Okay. And yep. And it was, one of those classes that it's there and it's like, oh, that sounds like a good class. I'll take that. Well, in the world of real estate farming, this, but it's a lot of times it's talking a lot more geographical location, and,
right? Like a neighborhood. I'm going to be the neighborhood go-to for this. Yeah.
Right. Your name's at the local gas station, and you have, the mailers go out and all of that stuff. So in that class, though, something that really hit me was the concept of not like loving on people and taking care of people for the fact that you are taking care of people and loving on people. It's not the business aspect of, I need to send out X amount of mailers. I need to, this, which is kind of contradictive, to the whole ROI thing.
Providing value without any expectation of something in return.
Yes, completely. Yeah. Because a lot of times, everything else you look at and okay, I'm going to send out, I was just listening to your guys' call about the golden letter, and it's like, okay, I'm going to send out X amount of letters. It's going to cost me this amount to do so. I'm going to get this amount of business from it. And, why am I ROIing off of that? And with this, we had to, it was something that was so, touched our hearts so much to just help this community and be there for them on a level that wasn't, hey, I'm here to be your real estate agent thing, that we decided to look into it, what we could do to just help and put that focus first.
Focus on the people first, not the money and not the return.
Yep.
Amazing.
So we, along with that, I read the book Giftology by John Ruhlin, and the concept there is kind of the same too. Like, focus on the thought of what you can give back and what you can, how deeply you can love on someone and care for them, not the return. And again, I know that seems totally anti, most systems and everything in real estate, but that's where we went with. And about a year and a half ago, I found the book, The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz.
Mike Michalowicz.
Yep. I knew I was going to butcher that. And in the book, he essentially has this 3-circle Venn diagram where it's like a triangle diagram where one circle is top clients, the other one is, unique offerings, and then the third is systemization. And where those three overlap is like your sweet spot. And honestly, I wish I would have had that book 6 years ago, because I probably would have made as many mistakes as I did. But we unknowingly kind of followed that. I mean, we didn't have clients at the time. So we were looking at, who are our top people? Like, who do we love? Who do we want to spend time with? Who do we just enjoy being with? The unique offering. We knew that world. We knew that, when you're teaching, you probably can't pick up your phone and call, someone. We knew that sometimes closings had to be, at the school, and we had to figure that out. So we knew that world there. And then the systemization of it, we didn't have that quite down yet, but we learned along the way. And in this too, I mean, we're talking about our niche and educators, but I think one of the key things for anybody to take away and looking for your niche, I am not telling people to go out there and build a niche of educators. That's not what you should do. You should do is, take those three things, merge them together, and figure out what your sweet spot is. My sweet spot is not, veterans. I'm not a veteran. For me to go into the world of veterans and try to act like I know what they've gone through is a disservice to them.
100%.
And so, I mean, we love helping our veterans and taking care of them, but for us to try to pretend that is, what we know is inaccurate.
Right. Okay. And there's a million, I can think right now off the top of my head, a million different niche markets that someone could get into. You said police officers,
mm-hmm.
You could do horse lovers, you could do people that own boats that are just big into the boating scene, mm-hmm. that live on a lake. There's a million different things that you could go do and it could be your niche, but you have to have some connection to those people.
Mm-hmm.
in order to make it real and make it so that you're providing value and you're not just
right
after making money on these people.
Yeah. Yep. I have a friend. I mean, the Lake of the Ozarks is a couple of hours away from us, and she pretty much solely focuses on second homes for Lake of the Ozarks. Like that is, I mean, she grew, her grandma's been there forever. She knows that area. Like that's where, her heart is. And she loves doing that. If I tried walking into that same niche and tried to, I could learn, but is that really my niche? No, it's not.
It's not connecting with your heart.
No.
Which is what probably makes this such a sweet spot for you guys,
yes.
Because it connects so deeply with your heart.
Yeah. And I think the heart factor is huge there because, farming is kind of, a lot of times geographic, and you send stuff out and you have a system and all of this, you kind of do things as rote. The niche marketing, it takes a lot before you get anything back. You have to be, and farming does that too. Like it's not a short play. It's not it's not a calling an expired listing or a FSBO, and maybe you have a listing the next day. It's a long play.
Yep.
And so you have to be able to put that time and effort into it and be okay with the results that you get back.
Yep. I love that. That's true. It's 100% true. You have to be willing to, and it's like that with anything, honestly. People always think that this real estate thing, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to start doing, and I'm going to see results immediately. And they give up. They'll work a little while and they'll give up. But the ones that are really successful are the ones that are consistent for a long period of time at the same thing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about some of the things you guys do in that teacher niche market. That's just, you're doing it from the heart,
right,
and not expecting anything in return. What are some of the things that you guys are doing for that?
Yeah. So something I'm super excited about is that we have now been able to, we're turning part of that into a nonprofit and a 501c3, so we can help even more in some areas. But So we have that going as a side. It's not the business aspect. It's a side thing where we can help and help with, give retreats and, offer retreats to them and time away and stuff like that to revitalize their soul. But in general, a lot of the things that we did is just look at, what are those things that, as an educator, if you are just, you're frustrated, you're worn out, like what is that thing that could help pick up your spirit? And we try to be that for everybody. There's a lot of places that focus on the kids, like helping with the backpack programs and food after school. And I love all of those. Those are fantastic. I'm so glad we have them. And we just decided to focus on the educators themselves because we felt that, I've seen Kalen grade papers till 10 o'clock at night. I've seen him after parent teacher conferences just be dead on his feet. I've seen Jill on our team was a principal, and I've seen her care for those kids who it seems like nobody's, and that really wears you down. So to have somebody just kind of come and say, thank you for doing what you're doing. And I want to bring you, Sonic drinks, or I want to, just bring you, a treat, or we do a movie night at the drive-in every year, just to give back and say thank you. And again, nothing is average. We have, maybe our sign up or something like that, but it is 100% come, you are not, this is not a past client event. This is not you have to do business with us or anything like that. You are invited because you are an educator. And that's the only criteria. Amazing. And in that, we see educators as teachers, bus drivers, people in the lunchroom, janitors, principals, administrators, all of that. It's the realm of education.
I want to circle back to something you just said. You said Jill, I think her name is.
Yeah.
Jill on my team, who's a former principal. You actually have team members that are educators. It's not just the clients. Your niche is so niche that the people joining your team are also educators.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and we actually looked into this at our last team retreat in October. And we are all in one form or fashion somehow very closely related to an educator. We're either a child of an educator, married to an educator, married to a counselor, which we consider an educator, librarians. I'm a former librarian, not at a school, but at a public school. So it kind of still, or a public library. But yeah, in some form or fashion, everybody on our team is very closely connected to an educator.
And I'm guessing that draws people to your team. You have probably educators that are done teaching school. They're like, I kind of want to retire from this. I've done it for 25 years, but I don't want to actually retire. Maybe I'll go sell real estate.
Yes. Yeah. And that's kind of where Jill came from is, she had been in education since, she made the joke that she's been in education since she was in kindergarten. She's between kindergarten, then high school, college, and then teaching. And then, as a principal, that's been her life for the whole entire time. And in the pros of polling people who know educators is we just feed back into that niche. Everybody has that love. When we do have these events or, take treats or something around, people aren't grumbling like, oh, well, why are we, it doesn't matter. They're not looking at it saying, well, what am I getting from it? They know what they're getting from it because, that would have been their mom or their cousin or something like that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's truly amazing.
Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Muchastegui with a quick commercial break with one of our newest sponsors. I'm super excited to be partnering with these guys. Does 15 to 20% ROI investing in turnkey rentals sound attractive? Did you know you can use the BRRRR strategy with new construction that has immediate equity already? You guys have heard me talk about stuff like this. Rent to Retirement offers fully turnkey properties that are newly built or renovated, leased and managed, allowing you to invest with confidence out of state. They have single family, multifamily, new build, and syndication opportunities across multiple markets that maximize cash flow, appreciation, and equity. Rent to Retirement assists investors in learning how to build a comprehensive business plan with the best investment and tax strategies to achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. There's no excuse not to get started in real estate investing when you have the right team and systems in place. To learn more, visit renttoretirement.com. That's renttoretirement.com or call 1-800-311-6781. That's 800-311-6781 to learn about how you can get started investing in some of the best cash flow markets today. And if you guys want to learn more about Zach, episode 1025, we dig in for a good 45-minute interview where he tells you the secrets to investing in real estate out of state. And him and I shared a lot of ideas about what works and what doesn't. You'll get to hear a lot about his company and his business. If you're an agent from out of state and you've got referrals looking for stuff, they work with other agents on a referral basis. And we've talked so much since COVID hit that everybody needs to have a backup plan, right? Every one of you agents needs to have a backup plan. You should all be investing in real estate. And if you're having trouble finding the time and the team to do it, maybe something like Rent to Retirement is the solution for you. So thank you for listening. Go check them out. Now back to the rest of our podcast.
So when you decided on this niche of teachers, what was your very first step? So anybody listening and they're like, okay, you know what? I'm a former police officer and I am totally connected to police officers and I want to go start this niche market in the police officer community. What would be your advice to start out?
Yeah, so we had to look at where we could start bringing everybody together, where we had a platform to talk to everybody essentially. And in all these markets, it's, what we do for educators and what you would do for a police officer is probably going to be two different things. Yep. But so one of our first things, as we looked at it, and again, I'm, 6 years ago, so 2016, 17, somewhere in there, we could start a Facebook group. And again, we're also looking at, we didn't have any money. So we were, everything that we had with the market area and stuff that we were in, we were very limited. So we didn't want to spend it on things. We wanted to spend it where it mattered. And so Facebook to us was something that worked well. Now, since then, and all the new Facebook algorithms and all of that, we've had to tweak and change and move things and whatnot. So that may not be the best for everybody to start with now.
But to find something that you can bring that community together, they need to find something, whether it's maybe, a police officer community group that's available or something. Okay.
Yeah. So, and, some of it could be, a text, where they sign up for text alerts for different things so they know what's going on, and it doesn't have to be a community way where they all talk to each other, but just in how do you create this community where you can give them information and updates and things like that. You're
providing value to this particular community.
Yeah. So in a, like, for example, in a police department, again, I know nothing about police departments, so I might be, but it seems that a lot of police departments have some sort of, I can't think of it, but like a fraternal order of police type person or something like that, who kind of watches out for things that might be good for the police community. So maybe finding those type people that can then help if they feel like you are doing something that is good for their community, because there is a barrier of entry in all of these places. So what is your barrier of entry to get into this community, and who do you need to talk to get into those? The same thing happened with schools. For us, it was, they're not just going to let us walk through their hallways, and start, I think of, inspectors who come to real estate offices and, go around and pass out their business cards. Like, that's not something you can do in a school. So what is our barrier of entry? Well, how do we help people see that what we're doing is 100% authentic, and we aren't just there to sell, we're not selling ourselves. We're not here to say, hey, here's Hubbard Realty Group, buy a house from us. That's not our authentic selves.
Right. Amazing. So if you were, what lead producing system do you use that doesn't feel pushy with them, since it's such a niche market?
Yeah. So, this is not for everybody. But we did, one of the things we found early on that we could do too is, in helping take care of teachers and stuff, we started character visits. So twice a year, we do character visits in schools as Abraham Lincoln and Johnny Appleseed, which means that Kaylin spends about 40 hours over 2 weeks doing all of those. And again, he's not going in there saying, I'm Johnny Appleseed with Hubbard Realty Group. Like, there is none of that going. But by them knowing who he is and who we are, that ties back to, the business.
Yep. He's going in to provide value. I'm going in as Johnny Appleseed to do a service for the kids and the teachers. And in return, they know his name. And if they have real estate needs, that's who they're going to call. Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, as far as like the systemization around some of that, we looked at, okay, what do we want to, like, what is our value? What do we want to provide them with? And we knew that during the summer, we wanted to provide them with something that they could attend for free, that they could bring their families to, that they could just have an eye out and relax and not worry about anything else. We knew that we wanted to do a night before they go back to school of kind of a like last summer hurrah, and that was a not kid friendly event. And we knew that throughout the year, we wanted to make sure that we were hitting different, areas. We wanted to make sure that we weren't just located, and focusing on, 3 schools, and only hitting up those people that we knew. We wanted to provide this for our whole entire area. And it became large enough that we had to put a stipulation of drive time on a lot of it. So unfortunately, in order to be in our group, you have to live within 2 hours of Joplin. And then we only drive out 30 miles, 30 minutes. There is a little bit of leeway on that depending on where it is and whatnot. But some of the stuff that we deliver, we can't, smoothies are a big thing that we do as far as treats, and they're only good for about 30 minutes. So sometimes there's limitations on where we can go just based on that. And then, so then we just from there, it becomes your normal systems, just like you would for real estate events of, how are you going to let them know? You're going to send out a mailer, you're going to send out a flyer, you're going to send, call them, you're going to text them, you're going to email them, letting them know the events. So that you just create the system around it, just like you would for, a team event for past clients.
Yep. So I know you're very systematized.
Mm-hmm.
You love systems. What's your favorite system in your real estate business for all of this and everything, for just real estate in general?
Yeah. So it's funny that you asked the favorite one, because my favorite one is usually the one I'm working on currently. So we are completely revamping this system to make sure that we are in touch with, how often we are touching different schools, because what we found is they would call us and we would say, oh yeah, we can get there, whatnot. And we had sort of, unfortunately, it was one of those that for quite a while, because we do cover about 80 different schools. It was on a board, like as computerized and everything as I am, like it was legit on a board, and we wrote down dates because that was the only way we could figure out that everybody could see it at that time. So thankfully that was revamped about 4 years ago. And now it's getting updated again, where there's a lot more automation in it of, hey, we have them down for a visit, and they're, they get an email reminding like, hey, we're going to be bringing this to your educators on this date. And so a lot of the things that we've put in place, we're adding more automation along the way to make things smoother and easier.
And what system do you hold that all in? What program? Well,
that's part of it. So right now it's being, and I think that's, me, I'm always like creating new things if I see something better. So it's currently in Airtable because it's been hosted there for a while, and I'm building out Zoho, which is new to me. And we saw it and it was working. So we've been working on it since February, which means my ops team is learning to write code and all sorts of stuff that they haven't figured they didn't know before. And I am blessed with an amazing ops team that they are like, yeah, this makes sense. Let's do this and let's create this.
Outstanding. So tell me, what's one thing you've learned in the past couple of years in this crazy market that you have like just totally learned and been like, I learned my lesson. Either something bad happened and you learned, or you just learned as you went. Tell me something.
There is a fine line between sticking with what you know and shifting.
And tell me about that.
Well, I say that because when the market, we need to be able to shift and we need to be able to move quickly. But there's also, if you do that without knowing who you are and knowing what is authentically you and your team, you can chase bright, shiny objects very easily. And we have done that. And we know we have done that. We know when we stick to our guns in some areas and we may shift within what we know. And I think that's the key, like shifting within what you know, looking for other opportunities to build on that. When we go chase a bright, shiny object of like, oh, somebody said their niche market was, nurses. We should look into nurses. Like that would be, and we try to do something or like, hey, we should, apply this new thing. Some of those are great and you should move into those. We've heard, I've been hearing about the golden letter. Like that's awesome. Like we should look into that. We should look at the ROI of that within being who we are. And if we are continually just chasing the bright, shiny objects of like, well, somebody else is doing this, that must be the golden ticket and we need to do that. It doesn't work. So like, but at the same time, not being so stuck in what you have done previously that you get left behind. It's an ever changing fine line, and you have to continually know what you're looking for, and that's the scary and the exciting part all at the same time.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense. You're shifting within your area of expertise instead of abandoning this to move on to this.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's when you start looking at the abandonment, you're jumping ship. It's one thing to continue the ship and continue this fleet and bring in another ship into your fleet and work on that. It's another thing to, jump ship from ship to ship. Yeah. That doesn't work that way.
That's great advice. That is great advice. In your opinion, what's the biggest problem with the real estate industry today?
I would say that we do not explain our value as a whole very well. I know we, as teams or individual agents, we might to our client, we do to our clients and they may know, but there's so much behind the scenes stuff that goes on in real estate. It's really hard to explain for even your clients that love you and know your value. It's still hard to explain all of that stuff that just happened in the background that you don't want to explain to them, because you took care of all of that stuff for them and you want them to have the amazing experience. So when they don't have anything to really compare that amazing experience to, they may love you and whatnot, but it's still hard to explain that full value to people. And
they don't know the midnight phone calls and the negotiations back and forth and the, oh my gosh, the well agreement wasn't signed and we've got to get this going and blah, blah,
right.
blah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't see it.
Yeah. They don't understand that, the other party, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, like another co-op person in the thing, like, maybe they're new or maybe they're, they just fired somebody or something. And now there's fire and like, you're trying to put it out back here while,
remaining calm,
remaining calm and giving them the Disney World experience at the same time. Which on one end is great because that's what they should be receiving. On the other hand, people look at it and it's like, well, what do real estate agents really do? They HGTV, they go through 3 houses, you pick one and all's done. That's kind of
so easy. Anybody could do it.
Yeah. Right. So how do we continually show that value? And I think that's a lifting of the industry as a whole. The more we have real estate agents who are all on board with making this, their business and giving the best value they can, people are going to start seeing that elevate versus, I got into real estate to just, do a couple deals kind of thing.
Yep. Okay. That's amazing. And I 100% agree because it is it's one of those, it's just like police officers or teachers where you don't understand the grading of the papers till 10 o'clock at night. No one sees that. They just see teachers get the whole summer off and they work Monday through Friday, 8 to 2.
Yep.
Simple job. They don't understand. It's the same thing with real estate agents. They don't understand the negotiations at 11 o'clock at night and the phone calls and 24/7 on call. And you never want to miss a phone call because that could be your next deal. And it's 100% commission.
Yep.
All right. Do you have any predictions for the market?
Ooh. Well, I have hope for the market and I have like what I'm feeling for the market. I feel like we're going to see some sort of, and this might just be our area and what we're feeling, but I feel like we're going to see a little bit of like a stop glitch kind of where, our area average is high and which was okay when interest rates were low and people were putting stuff on the market at what seemed like ridiculously high amounts. Well, now we have, the interest rates going up and I feel like we're going to have this little bit of a stop, go, shift glitch type thing where something's going to have to kind of stop and regulate for a second where, sellers are going to realize like, hey, that, extra 30% I thought I was getting. Well, now I can't in order to sell it. And I'm hoping that's going to be quick and easy. But, what I keep telling our team is that this is mucky. The last couple years have been mucky and we feel like we are going through mud at different times and it takes, 5 times as long to do something. But it's on the other side of this that we're going to be able to see opportunity. It's getting through that part of it that not everybody's going to get through. And so we need to instead of seeing it as this big, scary shift thing, no, this is opportunity that we can build upon. And this is where our systems that we have been building for several years and our platform, this is where it's going to shine.
100%. I agree with that. There's people that will survive a shifted market just fine. And they'll do great and they'll sell a lot of houses and they'll help a lot of people. Yeah. And then there's people that just won't make it through. And the ones that won't make it through are the ones that built their business on a not solid foundation. They don't have the systems. They don't have the processes. They rode the wave of a great real estate market.
Yes.
They didn't ride the wave of I worked hard, I put in the work, and now I'm going to continue to be able to do this for a long time.
Yep. Yep. Completely.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jessica, for being with us today. If anybody has any referrals for the Joplin area, they can get a hold of you. What's the email address?
So Jessica at soldhrg.com. And we now actually cover Joplin, Kansas City, and Columbia, Missouri.
Amazing. That's perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Muchastegui jumping in again to thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully you guys loved listening to that one. And I want to make sure that you know about all of the extra resources that we have. And also, we need your help. They say podcasts are free. You get to listen to podcasts for free. But what is the cost of that podcast? I would say if I could beg you to pay anything for that podcast, I would say the cost of the podcast is going and giving a review. So whether you download it on Google or Apple or YouTube or anywhere else, please go give us a review. Say what you liked, what you didn't like. It helps us get better guests. The more reviews, the higher we get in the rankings. Right now, we are the biggest podcast out there for real estate agents, and we want to keep that spot because we know there's lots of podcasts out there. So go give us a review. Also, be sure to go to hibandigital.com. If you liked any of the resources that those real estate agents talked about, we've got a huge video vault of those resources for free. Every penny that comes on the podcast that we interview, they give us something that helps them get their deals or helps them work with their clients. And we put that in the toolbox in our vault for you. So go to hibandigital.com and you can get it. If you're looking for real estate education, go to rebusuniversity.com. We have all sorts of courses in there to help agents succeed in real estate, how to get the listing, how to negotiate deals, how to become an investor, all sorts of different stuff, rebusuniversity.com. And if you want to chat with me, go find me on Instagram. And if you come find me on Instagram, you can send me messages. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We try to put a bunch of content out there too. You can find me in 2 different places. It's at rerockstars.com for our Real Estate Rockstars page, or at aaronamuchastegui.com for my personal Instagram page, where I can chat with you about all sorts of different things. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.